Morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Obviously, we've got a lot to get to on city operations, government side, but with this opportunity that we have with you every week, obviously we want to discuss the most important issue happening in our city, of course, the incident on Saturday night, Sunday morning. So I'm going to pass it off to Chief Winstrom to give you guys an update and answer any questions that you have. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Want to update you guys on the investigation, but first and foremost, I want to start up and express the police department's condolences to Mr. Philip Shepard Jr.'s family again. We are doing everything we can to support them, and I hope the others in the city step up and do the same for this grieving family. Also, I'm asking today for the public's help. To reach out to the police department, to stop by the police department. And if that's not an option, if there's individuals who have information, because we know they're out there that want to remain anonymous, go through Crime Stoppers, either by calling 850-433-STOP. You can also anonymously go on their website, gulfcoastcrimestoppers.org. You can text them. So we know that there's individuals, a lot of individuals that were out there, and it's very important that we're able to provide answers and justice for this family. So I do want to update you as well on the investigation. A couple big points. There have been 2 arrests made. We have not made an arrest with the charge of homicide yet, but what we have are 2 individuals that were very much involved in this incident. A 26-year-old resident of Mobile, Alabama, named Nicholas Safford, was arrested yesterday by detectives of the Pensacola Police Department for aggravated assault, for discharging a firearm on scene, and for being a multiple-time convicted felon in possession illegally of a handgun, as well as second individual, 25-year-old resident of Escambia County, Lillian Myers, was placed into custody by PPD also last night. And what Lillian is charged with is receiving a gun on scene that was used in this shooting incident and taking it away from the scene. So that's going to be, she's charged with both tampering with evidence and accessory after the fact. So again, no charges of murder at this time. However, we are making significant progress with the forensic evidence, with the interviews, and continuing the investigation. One other point that I'm willing to share publicly now is that we've identified that at least 3 firearms were used on scene, that we know now that there were at least 3 shooters in this incident. Obviously, we've already identified and put handcuffs on one of them. We do want the public's help, and even those involved on the sidelines of this incident to come forward and do the right thing, provide the answers that the city so desperately needs. And those are my updates with that. If there's any questions, happy to field them at this time.
Do you have any video or photos that you can release for us?
We have videos that we are considering doing that, but at this point in time, Rick, the way the investigation's going, it's more helpful for us to retain that information as we go through, as we're talking to those involved, as we're talking to witnesses that are coming forward. It's more helpful. So there's always a judgment call of what to make public, what not to make public. And at this point in time, it's more beneficial to the integrity of the investigation to withhold the information we have. But if you stop by Palafox down there, you'll see that there's very obvious surveillance cameras in the area. So I think it's not a secret that some of or all of this incident was captured in some part on video.
I can imagine it's got to be difficult, like trying to take a bunch of reels and trying to make a movie out of them.
Not only that, but to add the complexity just to how policing is in 2026, I mentioned there were over 50 police officers down on scene. There were a lot of incidents. I talked about 20 fights that we responded to. Every time a police officer was taking police action, they activated their body-worn camera. We believe that most, if not every one of the involved individuals were down there for a significant amount of time. So what we have is a team of detectives that are going backwards and looking at what amounts to, in the aggregate, hundreds of hours of body-worn camera video so that we could see, because, for example, if an individual dons a mask at some point in time before this heinous incident. We likely have perfectly good video of them without a mask on, wearing the exact same clothes from minutes earlier. So it's a lot of people hours to sit down and do it, but we're doing it. I saw the lead detective this morning when I walked in. She is doing a fantastic job on still very little sleep. They're just doing. I'm 4+ months in. I am very impressed by the professionalism of this organization. Very impressed by the work ethic of these detectives, and I know that they're doing really an exceptional job for this family, seeking justice for this family, and it makes me that much happier that my family lives in this city with this police department.
Chief, do you have any updates on the other people that were wounded in this incident, their status?
Well, no one remains in a situation that they've sustained life-threatening injuries, but we do have one individual, I believe, that sustained would be catastrophic injuries to their hand, likely lifelong, disabling injury. It is fortunate that no other lives were lost, but I think each one of these individuals will probably for a very long time come and suffer the consequences of this. So not the best news, but certainly could be worse.
I know you said it's 3 weapons now. Do we know what kind of weapon?
It appears that all 3 were handguns, which tracks on statistics from this, and the fact that these individuals were walking around the events, the July 4th events for so many hours. It is difficult to secrete a shotgun, a rifle in shorts and T-shirts. It's not so difficult to do so with a handgun, likely 9mm or so. So common guns used in crimes across the country, and that's what it appears to be here.
Chief, obviously the investigation's ongoing, and you want to be limited about what you say, but can you provide any new information on what exactly led up to this and what happened during this?
Well, the only really sort of direction I can give on which way the investigation is going, that is the arrest that we made of Nicholas Safford. He does appear to be from the documented court. It's publicly available now, information that we have. He is likely the first individual to fire a gun. It's very possible that he is the first individual to produce a gun. He's been charged with aggravated assault because he raised the gun up and individuals were in fear for their safety. So the investigation direction, it looks like, is headed is that incident, that this individual was the flashpoint for this tragedy. What preceded that, what sort of conversations, or what sort of historical feud, we're still working on that.
And Nicholas Sanford, he was arrested here or back in Mobile?
He was arrested here in Escambia County.
And I know you mentioned the other day some of the people involved appear to have some sort of gang connection. Is he one of them, or how did he get involved with all this?
He definitely has those same connections. He does have connections to the Escambia County area. Just so happens that he resides in Mobile, but he's not a stranger to this area or to the criminal element here. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Mayor. All right. Thank you, Chief. And I want to underscore what we talked about on Monday, just how grateful I am for our police department, all of our investigators working around the clock, our small business owners, the individuals coming forward to help us provide information that continues to allow this investigation to progress in a positive direction and to bring those involved to justice. So two things on that from the city operational side. First, I also had an opportunity to talk to PJ's mother this morning. As Chief Winstrom said in the hours following, that's not a fun conversation as a parent, a fellow parent to have. But we, from the city side, we've certainly offered any assistance that the family may need in the days ahead, and spoke with their family, and we offered our prayers and condolences and any assistance. Second, the conversation continues around a curfew. I've met with the city attorney's office already. We've made lots of headway, again, kind of templating off of the state statute and making sure that those things fit. For example, one of the conversations isn't so much the ages or the hours. There's some pretty standard policy that put in place around the state about that, but what happens if someone breaks curfew? Those are the complexities of the conversation. Is it arrest? Is it being able to drive a 13 or 14-year-old home that's unsupervised out late at night? Those are the dynamics that we want to work through, and following on my comments on Monday, that is the time will be invested in making sure that what we have is something and proposed to council for their approval is something that our police department feels confident that can be enforced and is the right solution and right balance for our community. But I've had several people in the community reach out in support of an idea of this curfew for minors. Probably my fault on Monday. I was surprised to hear there was some misunderstanding that we were proposing a curfew for adults. We absolutely are not proposing a curfew. We are talking about a curfew for minors, who do not have parents out with them past 11 o'clock during the week. Midnight on the weekends is the state statute. So that work continues, but we just want to let the public know that we're working aggressively towards a proposal that we can bring for council approval. I also want to make a last point on this issue from the city operations side. We've heard from lots of parents. I've gotten texts from downtown business owners where they can send camera footage. I've heard from people in the community. I've spoken with Commissioner May and Ellison Bennett. Pastor Wesley, everybody wanting to help support our police department, wanting to make sure that someone's brought to justice, and to have a bigger conversation about how we keep our children safe in the community. What I have not gotten a text about is wondering if we're excited about a 23% cut to our police department. No, when the sky is blue, I think this being in a moment in our city like right now, I think this only proves the point that when the sky is blue, we forget the value that it is to have one of the best police departments in the country, one of the best fire departments in the country. So the fact of the matter is, I haven't gotten one text or email saying I would like to cut the police's budget. And the reality is the amendment that's going to be in front of you in November is a defund the police, defund the fire department 2.0. And so that I feel it's certainly our police have lots of work ahead of them to bring criminals to justice. But I feel it's my role as the leader of city operations to point out that when 60% of your general fund is funded by police and fire, these are the moments when that is the most valuable. And so I certainly hope that our citizens understand that. And the reason we can continue to make progress on this is because you, the taxpayers, are investing in our police department. So let me run through a few unrelated items, and then I'll get to your questions. We had 233 people enjoy Roger Scott Pool over the weekend that we got open on the 4th of July. 195 were at Hunter. And I want through August 7th, the pool hours, so the rest of this month, first week of August, the pool hours are 10 to 2, and then 2:30 to 7 is open swim on Saturdays. And then Sundays noon to 3 and 3:30 to 6 on Sunday. And then Monday through Friday is 8 to 10:30 a.m. And then a camp swim from 11 to 2 and an open swim from 2:30 to 7. And then from August 8th until September 7, Roger Scott Pool will only be open on Saturdays and Sundays through August. So We're excited and appreciative for the $425,000 build grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation for a comprehensive planning study focused on the reconfiguration and expansion of the airport's existing curb front and roadway system. We appreciate Congressman Petronas helping us get that across the line. So that's close to $500,000 to ultimately make sure that the front of our airport that every one of our 3.1 million passengers interacts with at some point and to optimize that and make sure that that's the best experience we can provide. So we are certainly grateful, and of course for Transportation Secretary Duffy and Senator Ashley Moody for their work and support on that. You can still give some input on Dunwoody Park until July 10th. We had a great turnout and event. Thank you to the Parks and Rec Department, Tanya Bird, Councilman Moore. On July 3rd, there was a great turnout of kids getting to pick which playground they want to replace the playground at Dunwoody Park. And this is part of our Direction 25 is the $200,000 to replace that playground. And you can go on the city's webpage. If you couldn't make it on the 3rd and you want to have some input or let your kids pick which playground they like over there in Cordova Park, you can go on the city's parks page and vote until July 10th. We are beginning the Sanders Beach Park renovations, also part of our Direction 25 initiative, $1.4 million project funded by a grant from NERDA, Natural Resource Damage Assessment Program, and administered by Fish and Wildlife to improve the amenities at the park. So you'll start to see fencing around Sanders Beach this week, and you'll see site work starting next week. So just as a reminder, those improvements include ADA kayak access and launch, 4 new covered picnic tables, solar-powered lighting, charging stations at the waterfront, a new bathroom building over there by the playground. Let's see, improved ADA accessibility, new benches, turtle-friendly lighting, parking lot, educational kiosks for neighborhood announcements, and more. So construction is going to be about 60 days, $1.4 million project there. That is everything I've got for you, and happy to take any questions that you have. Wow, easy enough.
No, I was going to give
Okay.
you the first question.
All right.
He won't ask it.
A more shrewd person would have already walked off during that.
I was texting my text. All right. Mayor, you have Adam Cobb look at the agreement involving the Board of Governance for the libraries, and you got any report on that?
Yeah, the report back from our city attorney's office is from a legal standpoint of what purview the city has. There is no legal standing that the city has in relation to the interlocal, and it is ultimately the interpretation of our city attorney's office. It is a county operation and function. That's not a comment on what the relationship between the county and the board is. We're not opining on that. What we're saying is I asked our city attorney's office to have an analysis of saying what legal standing, if any, do we have playing a role in how this goes. And ultimately, there's probably a more detailed legal answer to this, but to put it simply, the city, it is not identified, has any legal standing to call a meeting, any of those types of procedural issues. The next question becomes, what are funding mechanisms, and really what happens from here? What are the financial impacts of that relationship? And so I guess ultimately it's in the county's court right now to decide what they want to do. And we have not received anything formal about what they do want to do. Anything else? Yeah.
You have on the agenda this next week for the city council council meeting, there's a proposal for an ordinance to put a temporary moratorium on data centers. Do you have any thoughts on that? That was, I believe, brought forward by Councilman Baer and not the administration. I maintain my feeling about data centers inside the city limits. Is not something that is part of our strategic plan of economic development. It's not certainly something I support, and if it were to happen in the county, to underscore, my full expectation is that we would have detailed
research and studying around any potential environmental impacts that would ultimately come downstream into the city limits. I would certainly hope that that would take place. In terms of a moratorium, again, yeah, that didn't come from the administration, and that was, I believe, Councilman Bear put on. So my position hasn't changed, but also the formal move or discussion or items on the council agenda came from council.
Yeah, I guess my question is, if the council passes it, would you support it?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, we're not protesting that item, or we don't plan on. Like anything, I think the details matter. What does that say? And my only questions around it would be, are there unintended consequences? Meaning, the goal is, hey, we don't want to have data centers in our city, but what we don't want to do is, does that take a hospital, for example, that's already in our city that has a server room and cause some accidental consternation or conflict? Those are that's where my mind goes to, just personally, when these types of things come up. But I just use that as an example. That could be perfectly addressed within the proposed ordinance, and so it's just making sure we have the details right more than it is. No philosophical difference about the idea of where data centers play a role in our community.
Mayor, what's the status of the restrooms for the Veterans Memorial Park?
We're moving ahead, full steam. Again, we learned through the media that they're just ready to have a building, which was the best news we could hear, because we've been saying the same thing for a year and a half or 2 years. So that's what we're doing. We've got a prefab building going in, and we're working our way there. We can get you exact timelines. I don't think it's down to the day, but we're moving with urgency. We've said over years of time, if there was something above and beyond what we can provide in the budget, certainly we're all ears for VMP to provide funding or donations. Not that they have to, but we are moving. We haven't seen any of that, and that's certainly their decision. So we're going to move within the budget constraints that we have. We are going to be able to provide some type of bathroom facility to them, and again, now given their newfound desire of just getting something in there as quickly as possible versus kind of trying to reinvent the wheel like we have many, many times to be as harmonious as possible, then great. That gives us clear direction from them to move forward with the building that we're going to put in.
When will we have the budget? When will we have that available?
Yeah, we were having some final budget meetings. I think we're shooting for, it's mid-July. I'll get you the exact day of when it would be. Yeah, yeah. We say mid because that gives us some leeway, but very soon. Yes. What I can tell you is, even as of yesterday, we were kind of having our final, budget meetings, because this is probably, for better or worse, and I guess more likely worse, one of the more complex budget decision-making in my time as mayor. Not that putting a huge budget together is ever easy, but as you can imagine, sales tax flattening, property tax flattening, property tax amendments, having to brace for that. There's certainly more complex and complicated decisions to be made, and more difficult decisions to be made on the budget, given the rhetoric and if that amendment were to pass, there is no doubt that there will be an impact on services. And the most prudent thing we can do, representing the taxpayers' money, is start bracing for impact. And so I can just tell you overall, thematically, there's going to be some difficult decisions that we'll have to make, but that's unfortunately in this time that's the prudent thing to do, is not to pretend that nothing's happening, and then have to have something even more intense, take place in a shorter time frame. So yes, you'll have that in the coming days, and then we'll have our workshop with the council.
The budget are you cutting the budget over last year?
I'll have to look at exact numbers, and remember, it's always, there's some detail to cutting the budget, because the budget numbers can fluctuate based on grants and things,
Right.
and what the airport's doing, and, you know, when you look at the overall.
General fund.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily, we're taking the circumstances that were given to us, which is flattening sales tax, flattening property tax. So on one hand, you have to address that regardless of the state discussion happening around property tax. So we would already see kind of that trajectory change, and we've been anticipating that for months. Obviously, with any budget, we got to figure out, you know, creative ways to continue to provide the best of services we can, and do it within the budget. One thing that also always gets forgotten in city government and county government and everything else is this notion that city or local governments are immune to inflation. I would actually make a case that we're more susceptible to inflation than even an average citizen would be, and these are citizens' dollars, and it's because when you go for procurement, when you go for RFP, when you talk about materials, what it costs for labor, what it costs for health insurance, all those things that are attacking affordability at the citizen level right now, governments aren't immune to. So as costs rise, and revenues flatten, we're already going to have to prepare for that. So yeah, I would consider that the general fund is going to be, if I were to vaguely describe it, I would say will be flat. Yeah, if anything, it might even be down a little bit.
You know, there's a mystery anonymous poll being done. It seems to be centered around CEMEX. Why? Why are we getting this poll?
Yeah, you'll have to ask them. I'm going to speculate, since I learned about it because I got the poll on my phone. I'm going to speculate that came from CEMEX because of the intensity of testing language of keeping leases on port. We've had conversations with CEMEX many times since I've been here, and we do the same. You can run as many surveys as you like and test messaging as much as you like. Really comes down to the same thing, whether you're talking about Hard Rock, CEMEX, American Magic, anything else. What is the good that you could do for the community, and in terms of jobs, in terms of building revenue to be able to provide services. So we're going to evaluate every one of those situations objectively, as we always would. So yeah, I was a little disappointed to hear about a messaging poll through my phone, and I wonder if we're going to get the results. Maybe we'll get to see them and see. But
the contract's not up yet, is it?
No, it's I'm guessing here. I'm going to say probably 5-6 years left. Yeah.
That's what I was about.
So
Why do they feel threat?
Nothing I'm aware of, and certainly you'd have to speak to them about that. I know we have had administrator level kind of conversations as they've requested it, in previous analyses of what the cost benefit is to an extension. Since we're sending out surveys, certainly we'll share our side of it. But there is lots of value of wharfage and tonnage and activity at the port. There's a great value that CEMEX brings there. But we have to balance what the commitment is, how many jobs it creates. It's not a large job creating lease. It takes up a large space, does a lot for tugs and stevedores and all of those things for revenue for the port. So, but those are all the things that you analyze objectively when we look at it. And so we have to know that before we commit to this type of activity at the port, what is the cost benefit of the taxpayer? That's why I think I was elected, and I think that's why our administration and port staff has been hired, is to make sure that we're making good decisions. So, we're happy to entertain any conversation at any point, but I'm just as surprised as you to see 20 different messaging. Why now or when? You'd have to ask them. It wasn't. We did not have a meeting last week that. Yeah.
There's not an active negotiation going on about extending the contract.
They have reached out a couple of times, including in my first weeks as mayor. There was a conversation then. There's been another one more recently that I wasn't in, but we had city staff in. But even that, I think that was like the end of last year that I'm aware of. Now remember, a port. I don't know that CEMEX in in Lance Scott, or, that at the port level, certainly you're interacting with your leaseholders all the time. So I don't want to misspeak and say, but from the 7th floor of City Hall, nothing has changed from a timely or substance standpoint recently that would trigger something like that I know of.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was, if there's not an active negotiation and y'all haven't, get them a notice they got to vacate, there's nothing official going. I guess that's what I want to
Right. No, we have not notified to vacate. We have not said, we have not sent them a note saying we aren't going to renew at any point, that nothing with any finality has been provided by the city to them. I think it's just continuing conversations of their desires. It's certainly no mystery and fully public that they desire an extension but there hasn't been some final decision made anytime recently.
Mayor, speaking of leases, where does Hard Rock stand? I think their lease, their lease requires permits by August.
Sounds right. I'd hate to misquote that. I have a follow-up meeting. I had one last week with the financial advisors of the project. We continue to maintain that we're going to defend the taxpayer dollar, and that I think that's even more highlighted now in this conversation about property tax. We talk about homestead property tax relief. Well, any funding of local government is going to be coming from projects like hotels, like things, second homes, condos, things like that. That's what we've been told by the people who didn't analyze this. So that puts even more downward pressure on tax abatements, in my opinion, for projects like this, is just even the season of life that we're in. And so we continue, we have not relented on that. It's very difficult for us to be comfortable with any type of abatement at all. And so looking forward to a conversation with the principals next week. I can tell you they are aware of that. And my hope is that they're looking for other creative ways to figure out how to get this project penciled. In the defense of the project, a $300+ million investment in terms of construction jobs, in terms of property tax, in terms of ground rent, at a long road of CMPA of really only having the stadium and one other building or two other buildings there, is a good thing. So I don't want that to be lost in this. This is a great investment in the city that could help fund police, can help fund fire. And so we certainly want to see it happen, but we've made our intentions known that we're not very interested in doing that or having the taxpayers foot the bill.
Is there, are they discussing at all, like redesigning it, make it a smaller scale, and would there be enough time to go through the city approval process before August to get those permits?
Yeah, I mean, on the first question, you'd have to ask them that if they were to bring plans forward that were a modification, obviously we would have to approve those plans. I'm not aware of that, getting that far to this point. I would be, this is my opinion, I would be surprised if that is the first move, would be to downsize the project. I actually think the project is the size that it is from an economy of scale standpoint, kind of the other way, that, once you're pouring concrete and, going through all of the cost to build what you're going to build, I actually think it probably helps the project pencil by having more volume versus less, would be my guess. I can answer your second one, but you got to tell me what it was.
If they do change the design and have to go through the city approval process,
Sorry.
Is there enough time for the city to give them an extension?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, these types of things happen in projects all the time, especially a project of this enormous scale. I mean, I would venture to say a $300 million investment would be the largest investment in the history of the city. I'm trying to think of one that would be bigger, certainly private investment. So with that comes complication. If this is not going to be, as long as we have a clear understanding that we represent the taxpayer and that that we aren't necessarily interested in a large financing of a market rate project by the taxpayer, if we can get to that understanding. If it's about August versus September, amendments or any other extensions that we need to see a project like this happen, I certainly would be open to. I would have to, it depends on what they're asking for, what kind of amendment they would need. Would it need to go to council? Those types of things. There's so many variables to your question that could come up. But our goal isn't to play gotcha on the lease by one day if we can get this project to happen. But again, what the thing closest to us right now is, come tell us that you're going to make this project pencil without taxpayers footing part of the bill, and then we're happy to accommodate within reason from there.
There's another project at the Portside Pickle. It's the work on the warehouse seems to be stalled out. Have y'all been any? Where do they stand with you and the board?
Yeah, we've had some conversations with them. My understanding to answer the question on the building itself, my understanding is that the group is ready to move forward with some improvement. There have been improvements, not aesthetic, but electrical improvements, some significant investment that's gone into the building there that by the naked eye you can't see, but from an infrastructure standpoint, there has been some investments according to the leaseholders. We've had some general conversations with them, kind of checking temperature on that, of saying, hey, there is some obligation to get this thing moving, and so nothing that has necessarily come from that. They haven't asked for some accommodation on the lease or anything like that. So I would expect you'll see some type of movement, on the building in the coming weeks.
Mayor, going back to the library issue, is there, you said that the city really has no legal standing to facilitate a meeting or anything like that, but I guess is there, just from your own point of view, like an interest in, do you think the county essentially ignoring its own rules and the governance of the library that the city negotiated, do you think that the city has any role in maybe putting pressure on the county to get the library system moving, especially in light of the property taxes coming up and the board's role in setting the library budget that a lot of city residents use?
Yeah, the only way I can answer that is we certainly look at the libraries as an asset to our city. I've shared that personal story. I used to go to the camp at the downtown library myself during the summer when my mom was working at Baptist. My granddad would pick me up from lived next door. We'd go there all the time. Where the old entrance is on the south side of Gregory, not the new one over on Spring. But so I have a personal connection to the libraries as a kid. I think they provide great value to our community. But I think you can chalk up the answer to your question into the same unknown that we've been thrown into around property tax discussions, because if we were to have a joint meeting today with whether it's city, county staff, or city council, mayor, and county commission, the next huge elephant in the room is, well, then where would the funding mechanism be, and how would you fund it? And so, frankly, I just think that there's still some more things that the county, of which they're the authority, need to work through to figure out what they want to do. But we certainly stand by, willing, and we know the value of having libraries in the city. We want this to have a good conclusion and a positive conclusion. I just think between the legal analysis and kind of where we stand right now, we don't really have an active role yet. But I'd imagine a few more decisions, one way or the other, by the county will obviously start to enter into, what is the relationship with the library system as a whole is, and that can just go a lot of different ways. I'd just be speculating at this point. Is it a change to this agreement? Is it a termination of the agreement? I mean, these are all things that are on the table, and I think the county will have to kind of make the first move on. But we're ready to have whatever conversation they'd like to have, and we certainly understand the value of the libraries. Anything else? Thanks, guys.